Hi, I'm going to demonstrate how to create a web page. This will be a very simple web page that uses a minimal amount of HTML, and I'm also going to show you how you should store your web pages for your final project. So what I'm going to do is first set up the folder structure that I need to store the web pages and the pictures that the web pages will use. So I'll go ahead and create this folder right here on the desktop, and then I can move it wherever I want to later on. But to do that, I'm just going to go to the Open Desktop, right click, choose New from the pop-up menu, and then choose Folder. And then give it a name, and I had suggested your username. So for me it's KuntzCB, and that you use camel case notation. So I'll elevate what would be the next word in the phrase. I'll elevate that character to uppercase W to make it more readable. And inside of this folder is where I'm going to be storing my web pages, and also inside of this folder I'm going to create another folder, so new folder, and I'm going to call this folder Pics. And this is where I'm going to store any pictures that are used. Now I'll open that folder, and I have a picture. I'm going to drag it and drop it, and so as I then look at what I've created up to this point, an outer folder, an inner folder, and I'm storing the pictures inside that inner folder called Pics. Okay, so now to create a web page, I'm going to use Notepad. Starting out, I'm going to use Notepad, so I'm going to search for Notepad, and I'm going to do some speed typing here. So I have typed the text that I need, and let me go ahead and describe what's going on here. So this is a web page, and you're looking at HTML, hypertext markup language, and specifically I'm writing in a dialect of HTML called HTML5. So this is the newest standard, and the browser will recognize it as being HTML5 from the doc type tag, which is the very first tag. And when it sees that it says HTML, it'll know that that's the current standard of HTML. I had mentioned previously in lecture that this is the language that the browser interprets. So human beings will use this language. Either they will write it directly, or they will generate it using some other kind of program. But human beings then would create, one way or the other, the HTML, and the browser reads the HTML and renders the web page in the form that the user specifies. So in this case, the actual web page really begins here. This instruction, known as a tag, tells the browser that what follows is the web page. And the first section of the web page is called the head section, and it's necessary to provide this code. It's necessary to place it right after the opening HTML tag, and the head section can be minimal, as it is in this case, or it could be more extensive, especially if I introduce another kind of programming language to my web page called JavaScript. So typically JavaScript is placed in the head section of the web page. So the head section in this case is as minimal as I can make it, and the only thing that's really required is this meta tag, which says to use a particular type of encoding scheme called UTF-8, which is an encoding scheme that supports a number of graphics characters, and also it has a title section, and what's contained between the opening title tag, which I have highlighted right here, and the closing title tag, which I have highlighted. What's contained within the opening and closing tags is whatever text I want to have appear on the title bar. So when the web page is displayed, there's an area up near the top called the title bar, and I'll make this text display there. Following the head section, then I would have the body section, and the body section's the part of the web page where most of the program code is going to be found. And in our case, I want to have a bold title, and I want the characters to be big, bold, block style print, so I use an H1 or a heading 1 tag. And these H tags, these heading tags, can be in the range of H1 through H6, with H1 being the largest and boldest print, and H6 being the smallest yet bold block style print. Also, when the heading tag concludes, it will automatically create what you might think of as a carriage return, or will cause whatever follows to appear on a line beneath. And what's going to follow then is a picture, and that picture is going to be imported into the web page using the image tag, the IMG tag. And so the IMG tag is used if I want to insert a picture, and there are certain added components known as attributes that are required. And in fact, this tag requires an attribute called SRC, another attribute called alt, and I have opted to use 2 additional attributes to control the size of the picture, the height and width attributes. So let me explain just a little bit about attributes. First of all, the SRC attribute, standing for source, tells the browser where to find a picture, and the picture is titled me.jpg, and it says relative to the page that's making the request, relative to this page, it should be found in a folder called pics, and the file name will be me.jpg. There's also an alt attribute, so in the event that the picture doesn't load, or in the event that someone with a vision disability, someone that's blind, if they're using some software to read the web page, some text to voice translation software, then since the picture is not going to be of any value, the contents of the alt tag will be displayed, and if there's meaningful text there, then it may add to the overall meaning of the web page. The height and width attributes can be in any order, and they are describing how high and how wide the picture should be in a unit of measure called pixels or picture elements. So these are extremely small little dots on the screen, and it will be in this case 477 by 355 pixels. The other thing that needs to be pointed out is that when attributes are used, they're separated by spaces. So I have a space between, and actually the way to look at this is they need to be preceded by a space. So the first attribute's preceded by a space that I have highlighted here. The second attribute's preceded by a space where I have it highlighted, and likewise there's a space ahead of the third attribute and the space ahead of the last attribute. And then finally, my web page ends by closing the body, and I'm going to clean the indentation up just a little bit, make it a little bit more readable. This is not a requirement, and as a matter of fact, the HTML could all be written on a single line if I wanted to, but it wouldn't be very readable. So there we have it, nice, neat, indented HTML, and I'm going to save this
So I'm going to do a File, Save As, and I'm going to target the desktop, and on the desktop my folder, and I'm going to put it right inside of the folder called Kuntz CV Web. So I'm going to save, and I need to give it a name. Notepad wants to automatically put a file name extension of txt on your files, and since I want this to be recognized as a web page, I'm going to give it a file name. The one I used when I demonstrated this in class was example 1, and I'm going to give it a file name extension of .htm and save it. And now if I close up Notepad and go to the folder and look inside, I have a web page, and I don't think associated this with any particular browser, so I'm not sure what happens if I double click on it. It wants to open it in Microsoft Word. Bad idea. Okay, so since it's not associated with any particular browser, I will need to open with, and I'll open with Firefox, and when I do, I see the web page. Now, how this got rotated, I have no idea. So how can I deal with that? Well, I'm going to go to the folder here, and it seems all right when I view it here. I'm going to rotate it right and go back to a web page and open it up again. I don't know whether opening it in Word caused that or what. Shouldn't have, because I didn't save anything. I'll open with, try Internet Explorer this time and see what happens. And it still seems rotated. No idea why that is rotated like that. One more time, go to the pick folder, and I'm going to, this time, instead of trying to rotate it by issuing an operating system command, I'm going to open this with a graphics editor. So I'll open it in Paint. This is a very large file, and it does look like it's, the orientation is wrong. So I'm going to rotate it counterclockwise 90 degrees, so 90 degrees left, and save it and close it, and go back to my web page and open it, and I'm going to open with Firefox again, and this time it renders the image the way I expected it to. So I'm not sure what happened with the rotation, but if you open the picture, if that happens to you, if you open the picture in a graphics editor and just rotate it, it should be fine. Now I want to go back in here and take a look at some program code. I played around with this earlier and changed the dimensions on the picture with the height and width property, but if I look at the picture itself, let's do this first. If I right click on the picture, there's a properties option on the pop-up menu, and if I choose property details, it will tell me some useful information like what the height and width property values are. So it's in its natural state, it's 2,448 pixels wide and 3,264 pictures high. And this was a camera, so it recorded the fact that that was created with an iPhone 5, and quite a bit of encoded information in that file in addition to the picture itself. But you can, with the Windows operating system, right click on a picture and determine its actual size,
And then if when you view the picture in a web page, if it's too large, then you can do some quick division and scale it down proportionally. So I had to scale this down considerably, and if I go to the web page and open this in Notepad and take a look at the height and width attributes, I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of this, including the space that precedes the attribute, and I'm going to do a Control X. Now, by doing a Control X, that text is on the clipboard, so I can come back to this and repair the damage I'm about to do. But I'm going to save, and at this point the web page is being saved without those height and width attributes on the image tag. And if I open the web page, open with Firefox or Internet Explorer, the picture is going to be enormous. Okay, so I can control the size of this picture if in its natural state it's too large a couple of different ways. One way would be to, on the image tag, just get back to this, open with Notepad. On the image tag, just go ahead and apply the height and width attributes, and that does not change the actual size of the file. So if I reference that file through an image tag later on in this web page or in some other web page, and I don't use these height and width attributes, then the image is going to be oversized. So this will control the size where it's imported in this one single instance. And I'm going to save that again. Now the other way to do this is, again, open this in a graphics editor. So if I were to open with, Paint or some other graphics editor, then there is a resize option here, and I can shrink it by some percentage, or I can shrink it by some specified number of pixels, so I can see the actual pixel values, and those are the same ones that showed up in the file properties. So I can control it, and then if I change this and then save, it actually changes the size of the picture. And then if it's if that picture is referenced in other image tags, it's gonna be sized properly, and I won't have to use a height and width attribute elsewhere. Okay, so hopefully that was understandable. Now I'm going to push ahead here a little bit and continue to generate some web pages real quickly, because I want to show you how to create a hyperlink. And so if I want a hyperlink, I need a page to hyperlink to. So we're going to pretend that I want to set up a hyperlink in my example 1 page, and I want to hyperlink to another page called example 2. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to open with Notepad again, and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to change some things here. Now, instead of in the title putting in my favorite class, I'm going to put in the name of the file, which is example1.htm. So this will communicate some useful information here in a moment when I look at the web page. So this is example1.htm is the file name, and I'm going to save this. And then I'm going to do another save, and I'm going to save as example 2, and on the heading of example2.htm I'm just going to put example 2,
Okay, so there'll be big bold text at the top. And I think I'll take this image tag clear out of that page. Now I'm editing example 1 page. If I were to do a file save, I would, overwrite that file that I've been working with, but instead I'm going to do a save as, and it's at this point that I'm going to change the file name to example 2 and save. And now there's going to be 2 files in the main folder, and I'm going to close up Notepad. Okay, so I'm going to close up all my files and look at them real quickly. So right now I have my first file, which I'll open with Firefox, and it looks more or less the way it did before, except it says example 1 up here in the title. And then if I look at example 2, which was created off of example 1, and I open it with Internet Explorer or Firefox, then the picture's gone. It says example 2, and it says example 2 in the title bar as well. So here's what I want to do. I want to go back to example 1. Again, let's look at this one more time in a browser. And what I want to do is put in a couple hyperlinks here. I want to put in a hyperlink to hyperlink from this page to example 1, and then I also want to put in a hyperlink and hyperlink to some other website, maybe Anderson University's website. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Well, I need to open the web page in an editor. Any changes I make to the HTML, I have to do through an editor, not a browser. A browser reads web pages, but it doesn't allow you to write anything to them. So I'm going to open the web page here with Notepad. And down below here, I'm going to put in a blank line. I'm going to force a blank line. In fact, I'm going to force 2 blank lines. I'm going to do this 2 different ways. One way I can do it is with a BR tag. It stands for a break tag, line break. A second way I can do it is with paragraph tags. Okay, so if I put in a opening paragraph followed immediately by a closing paragraph tag, not put any content in the paragraph, but just have an open and close paragraph. Paragraphs also generate a blank line when they finish, so that closing paragraph tag will force another blank line. And down below this, after creating a little bit of vertical white space, I want to put in 2 links. Okay, and I create the links with an A tag. Sometimes it's known as an anchor tag, and the A tag has an all-important href attribute. So notice I put a space, then href, as in hyperlink reference. And if I want to link to my example 2 page, then I will refer to the file name as it appears in the file system, example2.htm. And if I don't put any preceding information, file path information as it's known, then the browser is going to assume that that file, the file that I want to hyperlink to, is in the same folder as the web page that's requesting it. And since they are in the same folder, I'll just refer to the file name, example2.htm, and that is, let's see, everything I need for the opening A tag. Then what follows is going to be whatever I want to set the hyperlink up on, typically text, but it could be a picture. So I'll go ahead and this time demonstrate with text. So I'm just going to say something like link to example 2 page. Okay, so however I write that, that's the way the text is going to appear on the page. And this is a closing tag, and like all closing tags, it's going to end with a left angle brace /A followed by greater than or right angle brace. So there's my opening tag, the text that I want to have associated with the hyperlink, and then the closing A tag. And I'll create, this is a first tag, and then I'm going to save myself maybe a little bit of typing here. Do Control C, come down here, and insert. And I'm going to change this to link to AU homepage. And that is not a page in my website, so what I need to put in here is not the name of a file, but rather the URL to the Anderson University homepage. Now, I know what the URL is to AU's homepage, but I'll demonstrate this anyway because it might be useful later on if you're setting up what I'll refer to as an external as opposed to an internal hyperlink. But if you're creating an external hyperlink, one thing you might want to consider is just to verify that it works, type in this case, www.anderson.edu, and it will rewrite that as http://www.anderson.edu, and we're at the Anderson University homepage now, and I'm going to follow that with a Control C. So I'll highlight the URL, follow that with a Control C, and then I can close up the browser and come back to my second hyperlink reference and paste with a Control V and paste in the verified Anderson University URL. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save this, and this is example 1 page. Okay, so I'll go ahead and just do a save. It'll update the page, then close the page. Now all that new instruction has been written here to example 1, and if I right click and open with a browser, then I'm going to see, oops, I needed to put a break in there. I'll go back and fix that here in a minute. In fact, I'll fix it right now. Let me go back over here and open with Notepad again. And what I really needed to do is to force that on another line, and a way to do that, and probably the best way to do it, is just to stick a break tag in there. So we looked at break tag previously. I'll use it again down here. That's a singular tag, incidentally, so there is no tag pair associated with the break tag, nor is there a tag pair associated with the image tag. So some of the tags, and for instance meta tags, don't have a closing tag pair. So some do, some don't, and you'll soon learn which do and which ones don't. Alright, so I'm going to save, and I'm going to go back over here to example 1, right click, and choose open with a browser. And this time I forced it on separate lines, so a link to example 2 page, there's example 2, back arrow, and link to AU homepage, and there's a link shortly. I have a slow internet connection. It's trying to go. Okay, so there it is. It's loading the AU homepage. Okay, so if I go back, there I am again. All right, so what have we learned? Well, let's take a look at the HTML real quick. Now, you haven't seen this yet, so let me demonstrate. In browsers, if you right-click on the open window, they will have a option to view source or view page source. So it's the menu will be coded a little bit differently depending upon the browser. But in the case of Firefox, it's view page source. And if I make that selection, it will let me look at the HTML behind the page. So I can see two things here. I can see the way the page looks, and I can see the instructions that cause it to look that way. So let's analyze that. The doc type tag says we're using HTML5, and then the web page begins with the opening HTML tag. Then I have the head section, and I'm using a meta tag attribute to specify the character set as UTF-8, so I can use a wide assortment of graphics characters. The title has been set to example1.htm. Okay, so in the browser up here, example1.htm shows in the title. And then the head section closes. It's a very scaled down page, nothing fancy, just the bare minimum in the head section. Then the body section begins, and we have the H1 tag to produce the bold block style print, and it also forces whatever follows to be inserted on a new line, pushes down, does a carriage return essentially. And what follows then is an image, and I was very careful to code the correct file path. So from my current page location, it would need to open a folder called pics, and it would find the file to import as me.jpg. And then I have an alt tag to describe the picture text, and I control the size of this instance of this imported picture, but it only affects this instance. If I want to use this picture again in another page or elsewhere on this page, then I would have to redefine these height and width attributes. And also, we discussed how you could go in and actually resave the picture and change the height and width attributes within the picture if you want to do it so that the picture is permanently changed. The break tag is a singular tag that generates a blank line. That same effect can be created here with the paragraph tags. So I create some blank lines here, and then I have a hyperlink created with an A tag, href attribute, and this is an internal hyperlink where I'm hyperlinking to my own individual file, and relative to the page that contains this instruction, there is no path information the way there was here. So by just specifying the file name, it tells the browser, look in the same folder as this page, define example2.htm. So both of these pages are stored in the same folder. And then the text that I want to have associated with the hyperlink over here is contained here. And then another break tag to force a new line, force things down, and then an A tag to create my second hyperlink. And the second hyperlink is going to be to Anderson University, and you can see down in the status bar down at the very bottom, if I point to the hyperlink, if I point at the hyperlink, it'll tell me where it's going to link to. So it's going to link to Anderson University, and this is the text that it's going to use in creating the link. And then finally, that's all I'm doing in this page. So the body
section ends and the web page itself ends with this closing HTML tag. And that is the code that produces the web page that looks like this. And that's as much as I'm going to cover in this video.